dreams going to hell. Lucifer vowed in season 1 to destroy Morpheus. Is destruction waiting for him there?
I think in one sense, it is waiting for him there, but it's going to take you a couple of episodes to see why.
Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Sagers from Den of Geek and the Talking Strange show, and I'm moderating tonight's conversation for the Sandman Season 2, the dark fantasy series based on the comic books of the same name. But I'm guessing you guys know that, because Season 1 debuted on Netflix in 2022. It shot straight to the top spot, #1 on the English TV list with 69.48 million hours viewed in 3 days alone. Then it spent 3 additional weeks in the top 10. So as a fellow fan, I'm very excited to dive into all things Sandman Season 2. And I actually have a few people to help me do that. But before I introduce them, I want to give a shout out that you should stick around until the end, where you're going to have a chance to exclusively watch the first episode of Season 2 before it hits Netflix tomorrow. Okay, let me bring in my guest. So stoked. First off, he is the showrunner, executive producer, and writer, Allan Heinberg. Hello. Hey, Allan. And we also are joined by, of course, you know her as Death, Kirby Howell-Baptiste. Hey, Kirby.
Hi.
And he is Dream of the Endless. Best title, best name, Tom Sturridge. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
Got a lot of questions to get through. But first off, after the high of the success of Season 1, look, this is a fan gathering. I was curious, how has fan reaction both surprised you, driven you, maybe even put a little bit of a pressure on you as you head into Season 2?
I am not on social media, so I've sort of been sheltered from a lot of it. But what the nice people at Netflix tell me is that the fans really liked season 1, and it made my job more joyful in many ways, knowing that there were people who were getting what we were doing, because the show is so unique and so odd and so I don't know. It's every show. It's all shows in
Yeah.
one. So it made the work of season 2 even more of a pleasure, knowing there were people out there who were getting what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I feel like after season 1, I mean, I think we've always said that the fans are an integral part of this show. And I think after season 1, people know this material so well. There were like essentially calls for certain episodes, and people had their favorites and things that they would love to see. And particularly knowing it was wrapping up, it was like, I'd love to see this and I'd love to see that. And I think that what's really been beautiful for me coming back is that it feels like a lot of the stories the fans asked for, we are bringing this season, and that feels really, really satisfying. And really, I think it's a unique show in that it feels like a two-way conversation with the fans.
Yeah, and Tom, you especially, you had no easy task bringing this character to life. What was your thought?
The extraordinary thing after it came out was just meeting people in the flesh, and people who care about it as much as I do, and who loved it. And it's just the kind of the cross section of humanity who love this story is amazing. And it's a privilege to be able to tell it, and just people who feel represented within it. It's been the interaction with everybody has been really wonderful and gratifying.
Let me stay with you for a moment, Tom. I'm curious, what was it that you were excited to explore going into season 2?
I think more than anything, to have the entire Endless together for the first time. Obviously, we met Death, Desire, Delirium, but the entire family we meet in this first episode, and that was an unbelievably thrilling moment. for us all to be in the room together. It's difficult to kind of to sort of distill the things I was excited about. I mean, this is a season which goes from ancient Greece to the land of the fairies to William Shakespeare. Every day there was something utterly beguiling to live through and describe.
Actually, Alan, Tom brings up a great point. I mean, there's so much. It's epic in scope, so much to cover. So, when did you know what it was that you wanted to cover this season, and how did you even decide what storylines to include?
Well, it changed. We started the season two writers' room right after we wrapped season one. And the version of the show that we developed with the writers was very different. And then once the information came in from the season two, sorry, from the season one premiere, the sort of mandate to make it less the anthology series that the comic was and to drill down deeper into Dream's story allowed us to tell the rest of Dream's story in season two. So the build of season two changed radically after the premiere of season one. All those episodes premiered. So it actually was a way to sort of look at the comics, which are, you know, they're dense, but it is a sprawling epic, and really distill the essence. Like, what is Dream's story? How do you make all of these successive graphic novels into one arc? And I think that has really helped us hone all of the stories. And I feel like you're always, I don't know how you feel about it, Tom, but it did feel very much like we were taking Dream from one place at the beginning of the season to the very end. And it is all one story in a way that is, it feels very, the ending feels very,
Compulsive.
yes, a compulsive, it's hugely emotional. And I think the comic is really all over the shop. You know, it ran for 10 years, so there were a lot of protagonists in it. And just staying with Dream's story and his interiority and his emotional journey allowed us to go really deep in ways that we couldn't have if we were going to proceed with the original plan for season two.
I don't think there's no exaggeration whatsoever to say that Death was really a fan favorite in season one. Why do you think, what do you think audiences love so much about her? And from a performance standpoint, what did you try to bring to that character?
Whoa, okay, that's a good question. I guess I would probably go by what attracted me to the role, because I feel like it's probably have parallel paths. And what I really loved, and I love this from years ago when I'd read the comic, I loved that there was a portrayal of death, which is something that is, goes without saying, incredibly difficult, but it's a very unifying thing. It's the thing that we will, every single person on this planet, no matter where you are, what you look like, how much money you have, will experience, both in the people around you, and obviously we all have to go. And I just found it really compelling to play a role that historically has, you know, or at least in sort of TV and film up until this point, been portrayed as something that's really scary and really menacing, perhaps even, and to take that role and make her a character that actually, rather than you focusing on death, made you focus more on life. And to me, that's really a beautiful thing to see, and I think it's a beautiful thing to experience, because I think if there's anything you can take from death, it's a greater appreciation of life.
As asked the same question that I asked Tom and Alan, but what were you excited to explore leading into this season?
Similarly to Tom, it was really exciting to finally put the whole family together, to know who were our other family members, to come together. In fact, I think about the family dinner and I think it was pure chaos for the crew, because it was like a family dinner. We were giddy and loud, and everyone was, you know, as much sort of all the effervescence and everything that you see on camera, there was even more so when the cameras cut, because, you know, we were catching up and we were getting to know each other and things like that. So for me, that was really fun. I love the idea of being in an ensemble. And I think that you really have those moments when the whole family are together. Everyone sings in those moments and we play so well off of each other. So that for me was one of the most exciting things one of the most exciting thoughts I had coming back was knowing that the whole family would be together.
And Tom, as someone that was a longtime reader of these books, it really did feel like you brought Dream to life in this way that made it feel like it leapt from the page and then put onto the screen. That's satisfying. That's satisfying as a fan to see. It's exciting, but no easy feat from a performance standpoint, I would assume. So, what were the qualities that you honed in on with this character that you tried to tap into and allowed you to kind of slip into that role?
Firstly, thank you very much. I think when I first began to do it in season one, the burden of responsibility I felt as a fan, for realizing these things that I cared about so much was helpful, because I think one of the key factors of who Dream is the burden of responsibility that he feels, for the collective unconscious of the universe. And I'm not comparing the collective unconsciousness of Sandman fans with the universe, but it's an enormous, vibrant, soulful group of humans. And so that was helpful. But the thing that was been so special about season two, and I think there is a way to distill it simply, is that for me, it's about love. It's about romantic love. It's about familial love. It's about the love you have for your friends, for your subjects. It's about grief at the loss of love. And that was something that I could hold on to and understand and connect to very powerfully.
And Kirby, back to you. This, one of the first scenes we see in episode one is the dinner scene with all the siblings. It's nothing short of an iconic scene. Fans have been waiting to see this come to life. This moment, walk me through a little bit about filming that with almost all of the siblings there together for the first time. What was that? What did that feel like? What was that like?
Incredibly exciting. We had this huge, and also the I have to say, we are so fortunate as actors on this show because we have the most glorious practical sets, and they are so meticulous. Everything, like when you look at that room, I mean, it's not only are we creating an epic show, it is epic to be on set. We have incredible, incredible designers, incredible sets. And so going into these I say sets, but they feel like other worlds that you enter when you come in for the day. I think it makes your job so much easier. I mean, we had this massive table and there's food everywhere and beautiful candles, and we're all sat around it, and people are sort of figuring out where they sit and how they act and things like that. And I think so much of the chemistry that you see on screen has been organically created by, obviously, we have incredible material to work with, but we also have everyone on this show every department is pulling sort of for the same goal. We have incredible costume, incredible sets and things like that. And so you sit down to something like the family dinner, it feels so, I guess, easy in a way. It feels so easy to be present. It feels so easy to have these relationships and to create these worlds because we have so many other people that are helping us create it.
And I want to circle back to that in a minute, but Allan, talk about the other members of the Endless that we're going to see at this dinner, and from your perspective, break down some of the dynamics.
Well, this episode introduces us to Delirium, Esme Creed Miles, and to Destiny. Adrian is amazing as Destiny. We don't meet the prodigal brother in this episode. We build on the dynamics that were started in season one. We get a little bit of the desire despair dynamic when we meet Despair for the first time. And obviously the Dream desire dynamic is the prime sort of driving force for the conflict in episode one. And what happens to Dream in the pilot is essentially all desire. We definitely build on the tension between Dream and Desire. Bringing
Mason is so amazing.
Completely.
They are utterly astonishing.
But I think it was interesting too. I mean, obviously the same team came back to cast the new actors in these roles. And not only do you want to find people who can make each of these distinctive voices sort of sing, but make them their own, they also have to fit into an already existing family dynamic. And I felt like that's what happened. I felt like Adrian was the perfect
Yeah.
foil
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you and to Tom, like from the very first moment. And what's lovely about Kirby's death and Tom's dream, which doesn't always come through in the comics, is there's a real sense of humor. There's a real sly, Dream doesn't will not let on that he finds anyone remotely funny in the comic, except death sometimes. But Tom and Destiny's not supposed to have emotions either, at least on the page, but they're so
Yeah.
fly about it. And it really allows you to experience their humanity, even though they're members of the Endless. So again, it was like the word Tom used, and it's the way Kirby sort of plays the character. It's very loving. The dynamic is completely loving. And what I experienced when we were all there, you guys were sat around that table, was an enormous amount of love.
Yeah.
Even in the squabbling, it was passionate. It was, I feel very strongly about human behavior. I feel equally strongly in the opposite direction. So it was very organic.
Yeah, very.
And
Very.
Jamie Childs, who directed
Ugh.
all the episodes, really, I remember we had a whole day booked for a rehearsal for that scene. He used 12 minutes of it.
He's so
like
good.
he did not want to over rehearse it. He really wanted us to be present on the day and discovering things. And, it was like, you sit there, you sit there, you sit there, rehearsal's over. And everything you see in that scene is happening for the first time as the cameras are rolling. So
Yeah.
it's very much as you see it.
I would even say that what I remember from that as well was that, like, even if the camera wasn't on you, everyone was always still there because you're sitting around this table having this dinner. And so even if the camera wasn't on you, there'd be someone looking at someone or doing something or trying to make someone, like, it just felt so fully and completely like we were that family at that dinner in that moment.
And the camera's moving so much in that scene. You never knew whether you were going to be on camera.
Yeah. So it wasn't like resting until your line. It was like everyone, we were engaged the whole time.
There's a lot of listening on camera in that scene.
Just to kind of follow up on that, I mean, it's one thing, Allan has the perspective of the showrunner, but, Kirby Tom, looking out of the eyes of your character, is anything that you would like to add as far as how you view the dynamics, the interplay between your character and these other members of the Endless? Anything to add to that, Kirby?
Well, I piggybacked off of Alan's. I have nothing more, but Tom, do you have anything else? Because Tom is fantastic. Tom, I want to hear what you have to say about our dynamics.
No, but I think it's a testament to the casting. You felt so immediately inside of the world that we were so familiar with from the comic books. The catalyst for our story is the relationship between Dream and Desire, and it was so thrilling to watch Mason, and so that I found very exciting. And then meeting people who we hadn't worked with before, having, for example, the extraordinary Esme Creed Miles as Delirium, and Adrian Lester as Destiny. Like having those new energies propels the story in a thrilling, different, and unique way.
It was also interesting in that we filmed that episode last in the first half. So we had already all worked together. I think so.
Yeah.
I think we'd done
Yes.
episodes. So it does really feel like a familial dynamic by the time we all get around that table. Maybe Donna, you didn't have scenes with Donna.
Yes, but obviously we knew
I had.
Yes.
Oh, you had? Yeah, I had not. Yes. That's why I had asked in my mind, because the way we filmed is obviously the way you film is not the way it's shown. Because to me, I remember this being episode 1, the family dinner, I sort of thought, oh, whoa, but it felt like because we filmed it so out of order, we knew each other so well. So actually it's really exciting that this is how it starts, because we had gotten to know each other for over such a long period of time by the time we shot that. So that's really, it's so invaluable
It
to be
did
able,
feel like family.
100% it felt like that.
Yeah.
Tom, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Dream's journey really this season is this path. He's making amends for past misdeeds. And I was curious about how you approached kind of playing that and some of the ways that we're seeing that over the course of these first few episodes. I mean, I guess like kind of another element to that is how do you think Dream has evolved from the beginning of season one to to the end of season two?
I think he's evolved profoundly. As you say, this family gathering is the catalyst for a great many opportunities for soul searching, for Dream digging in to find out who he really is and how he really feels about the world. And I don't think it's a spoiler. Forgive me if it is. That one of the things he explores is his relationship with his son, and what it means to be a father, and the father he has been, and the father that he needs to be, and the consequences of that. And I think that leads him to looking at his relationship with his own father. I think that when you look at the sins that you pass on to your children, you understand yourself better than perhaps you ever could.
We also see flashbacks to his past relationships with Nada and
Absolutely.
realizing what he has done. How do you think that's changed him, if at all?
I think I think he's done some pretty horrendous things, to be blunt. And I think that over the course of his existence, he hasn't understood that. And I think what we see in season two is a being starting to understand the consequences of his actions and starting to understand, how it feels to be someone who isn't him. He has hurt the people that he loves, quite profoundly and devastatingly. And part of what season two is about is him making amends.
Allan, this world, Sandman it's so rich, it's vibrant, truly like a visual feast. And then it seems like the scope for season two is expanded even further. I was curious, could you talk a little bit about behind the scenes, some of the departments you worked with to execute all of this and bring it to life?
We were very, very lucky in that everybody, the heads of all the departments came back from season one to season two, apart from our makeup and hair supervisor who retired. But everybody sort of knew the show and knew the characters. And so I felt like there was very little time having to explain. We had to learn how to make the show in season one. We had to learn what the show looked like, and now we knew. So we could take all of our time and our budget and use it to, the story sort of dictated the size and the scope. But we have incredible department heads, and everybody wanted to outdo the work that had been done in season one. Everybody across the board. So Gary Steele, our production designer, the sets were, he felt like he had to compromise at certain points in season one. There were no compromises made in season two. They were incredible. And as Kirby said, we have this incredible locations department and an amazing line producer who spends money in the smartest possible ways and schedules the show to allow us to use real castles and palaces and forests. And, we've got horses, and it's a major production, but it's all paid for and scheduled expertly to make the most of every pound that we're spending. Sarah Arthur's costumes were above and beyond. I mean, Tom, you worked extremely closely. Well, you both did. But Tom is extremely involved in the look of Dream of the Endless and worked extremely closely with Sarah and her team. She's a genius and so collaborative. Tom, do you want to say anything about your work with Sarah and the way Dream looks this year and the way that?
No, I do. I mean, I think collaborative is the word. I mean, it was a great privilege to work with Sarah. She's and her team. I mean, who really you can conjure an idea that you have on a Tuesday by a Friday, have have like cut it and stitched it, and the experimentation in the pre-production process was unbelievable. And her attention to detail, not only of the clothes we were making, but of the great lineage of images of costumes throughout all of Sandman, and having the kind of wit to find stuff that potentially wasn't from a sequence that we were shooting, but was incredibly beautiful and useful to telling the story we were telling, and trying to realize that it was she's a very special human.
It's incredible to walk into the
Yeah.
fitting room, because the comic book, the pages of the comic are on every wall.
Yeah,
So
everywhere.
the entire rest of the series is mapped out in terms of the original designs. And that's just a starting point. And our hair and makeup team, Donald McGinnis, is incredible what he was able to achieve this year. He comes in and basically like cuts photos out of magazines and says, it's going to feel like this. And you're a little bit horrified and also okay. But
Yeah.
then somehow, like on the other side of it, it looks entirely like what he said it was going to, but very Sandman at the same time. Like
Yeah.
Tom had new hair this year. So they worked very closely on what that was going to look like. Yeah, everybody, I love all of these people as humans, but if I could only work with these people for the rest of my life, I would be the luckiest writer alive across the board. I so want to start a new show right now so we can
Yes.
get the band back together and keep them together, because I despair of losing any single one of them. They're extraordinary. They're magicians.
Just
And they loved the show.
Yeah.
Loved it.
yeah.
Well, it definitely sounds like it's been a dream job, pardon the pun, I guess. But we are running out of time. I know we want to get to the episode, but two more questions. Bear with me. So, Alan and Tom, end of episode 1. I don't want to spoil too much. Fans are about to watch it, but Dream's going to hell. Lucifer vowed in season 1 to destroy Morpheus. Is destruction waiting for him there?
I think in one sense, it is waiting for him there, but it's going to take you a couple of episodes to see why.
And finally, Alan and Kirby. So we have a bonus episode that we're going to get after season 2 is over. It's focused on death. Obviously, we don't want to spoil anything, but tease what fans can look forward to in that episode.
Tell me, do the fans know the name of the episode,
do.
right?
It
Okay,
was
great.
announced.
So they know it was announced, of course. Yes. So, okay, I'm going to try and not give so much away, but if you can't tell, I am giddy about the episode. I'm so excited. Death, the High Cost of Living. I think that was one of my favorite stories that I had ever read, and that was one of the ones that a lot of fans asked about. And I think that I can't talk about that episode without a huge smile on my face, because it feels like it was. I mean, I text Alan about it. I was going through such an emotional growing phase in my own life, and to do this episode, it felt like I could bring all the emotion and joy and new discovery that was in my life to death in this episode, because that's what the episode is about. It's about joy, it's about discovery, it's about connection, like Tom said earlier. It's about love. It's love for each other, it's love for self, it's love for, like, sort of your common man. And I am just really, I feel very honored to be part of a story like that, to have been given honor by Alan to the trust in me to present a story like this. And I don't want to wish time away, but I cannot wait to get to July 31st.
I think it is. Yeah,
Is it?
it is
I
the
think it's July
31st.
31st.
It was a really difficult adaptation.
Yeah.
It's harder than I thought it was going to be, but Kirby made it completely magical. And the only thing wrong with it is that Tom Sturridge is not in it.
Or is he?
Or is he?
Right.
History. You'll have to watch it. I know.
Beautifully said and great tease. So I appreciate Tom, Kirby, Alan. Thank you so much for joining me for this chat. I'm stoked. I know the fans are stoked, and And it's here. It's about to happen. So I'm Aaron Sagers with Den of Geek and the Talking Strange podcast. And I thank everyone for joining me. And thank everyone watching at home. Season 2, Volume 1 of The Sandman debuts on Netflix tomorrow, July 3rd. Volume 2 debuts on July 24th. And as Kirby said, a very special bonus episode focused on death debuts on July 31st. So here we go. Let's get ready. What you've all been waiting for. Enjoy The Sandman, Season 2.
The dreaming will survive. Even if I do not.